Learn cybersecurity and focus technical training with justhacking.com, where all-star instructors and industry experts provide hands-on, affordable, and practical learning. Across courses, free upskill challenges, hack-along training videos, and capture the flag competitions, there's always something to hack. With new content twice a month, all throughout the year, plus bi-monthly live streams, you can sharpen your skills in our on-demand and interactive lab environments. Advance your career and level up, regardless of your experience or budget. Forget all the noise and get to Just Hacking. Sign up now at justhacking.com. It looks so good. The sizzle reel is just so much fun. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's too loud to kickstart the party with that, but I had a lot of fun with it. I hope it's pretty cool. Hey, everyone. Big thanks for jumping in. Look, I know I'm out of place. I am not in the usual studio. I am out on travel. I'm in a hotel in New York, and I don't have a microphone stand. So I'm going to awkwardly hold my microphone the entire time. I'm very sorry. But look, hey, thanks so much for jumping in. This is, again, yet another Just Hacking training live stream. I know it's been a minute since I've been able to get some videos out the door, some content out and about, uploaded, published, and released, but it's been a little bit busy. I have been running around, a lot of travel. For folks that aren't too familiar, and sorry, before I cruise through all of the things, the logistics, administrivia, boilerplate stuff to get out of the way. Yes, this is being recorded, so we'll get to the real show in just a little bit, but I will go through the announcements, the spiel, the elevator pitch to kind of kick things off. But this is being recorded, and you will be able to find it on the YouTube channel and the LinkedIn and the VOD and the Twitter post and X and Twitch and all that stuff. If you're interested just as well, there will be a events page or the vitals page of the justhacking.com website, and you can track down a lot of the links there just as well. I'll pull those up in a moment. In fact, I'll pull them up right now because I think that's a good thing to do. Show, not just tell. And hey, I'm going to hop over to the Just Hacking site. Look, I am, again, genuinely, I am in a hotel and I'm using my laptop in like the smallest corner desk thing that they have. So it barely fits the camera. I'm holding a microphone and I've just got a laptop. So it's a single screen and I'm kind of driving blind. Fingers crossed. Do we even see me here? Okay, I think we do. Good, good, good. So, hey, check it out. If you are over on justhacking.com, up in the top navigation here, the vitals page will tell us a little bit about the events, and that way you'll be able to see and track down all the places that we're at. Of course, the live streams that are available online as you are tuning in here and now. Thank you so much for being part of the party. But yeah, I've been saying I'm a little all over the place because, well, last week, really the weekend, I was over at B-Side San Francisco, and that was phenomenal and actually really, really cool because we were there present with the IoT or the Internet of Things Village. They had a booth set up and accessible for us. And I'm going to try and zoom in, but I have to put the microphone down. So this is going to be like the most janky live setup structure as always. Just a moment. Super cool. We were there at B-Side San Francisco. We were also along at RSA, the conference over in the Moscone Center in San Francisco. And we were there as part of their sandbox and their sandbox village. So it was really, really sweet. Kind of a treat to see like, oh, the logo up on the booth, like stickers everywhere. I had a very surreal moment being like, it's real. We're really doing this thing. It's up in action. So that was very, very cool. And thank you all for joining just as well. If you did get a chance to tag along, I want to be able to show you. I think I can show you super quick. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. We had like a MQTT or a Suite Lab environment for learning some of the Internet of Things activities all there. So if you were able to jump into that and play, I know the internet connectivity there at the venue is kind of tough, but we might be able to repurpose that and make that live just as well. And I'm checking over at my notes because while I have done those things and I am now in New York, we'll be over at the Net Gala And that should be a ton of fun, sponsoring that just as well to make a presence there. And I'll be there if you're around here in the area. And then following that is like B-Sides Tampa. I've got a keynote there. And then ThoughtCon in Chicago. There is just so much stuff that I don't even know off the top of my head. It's kind of a tunnel vision. But you'll be able to check it all out at the events page, again, if you're interested there. And if you want to see any of the other updates between new things that we are kind of, hey, kicking out the door, the platform updates page here will send along the newsletter or the updates or, hey, something in your inbox and a quick email to let you know when there are sweet new deals, when there are new opportunities with coupon codes, etc., etc. Hope you'll be able to dive into that. I think I'm looking for backstage. Okay, yeah. Trying to see if there's anything production into my ear to tell me, no, John, you forgot to say this thing. But I think I'm okay so far. Look, we can dive into the fun stuff, though, because as I mentioned, it is the new week, the start of the new month, first week of the month, when we get to put out some new material. So you'll see those in the platform updates, but the big stuff that we're excited about this time around is that we've got a couple Capture the Flags available now. The Huntress CTF that we had hosted previously now is accessible as part of the archives. So if there are any of the challenges that you missed in that previous game and you'd like to dig into, that is now immortalized and permanently available, and you could dig into it. I hope that's fun. But one of the coolest new things that we're excited about is there is a free preview for just about any and all of the courses that are out and about. You could track down some of the lessons where you don't need to, hey, slap in credit card and get the purchase over with. You can really see what you are getting into with a couple lessons that you might be able to peruse and preview. Now, with that, even the free upskill challenges and even the stuff that's pay what you can, pay what you want, name your price, well, it's kind of crazy. We're up to like 20 upskill challenges now. We're that free material. But the star of the show is super awesome because we've had him really here with us a little bit before, and he's been cranking out some incredible stuff for open source or intelligence, OSINT, right? Alongside OPSEC. But Mishaal Khan, a fan favorite, I know everyone has loved him joining the party thus far, has now released the finale, really, the culminating, the capstone for a lot of the advanced techniques, everything that we would have covered in the beginner level OSINT and then the level up OSINT for intermediate stuff. Now we have the advanced material out and about with next level OSINT. You can, of course, take a look at the free preview, and Mishaal will jump in here super duper soon to be able to showcase more of the material, or at least get a sneak peek on some of the cool demos and some of the things that you might be able to dig into. But with the free preview, you could see a couple of the lessons, you can tune into the videos, you can take a look at the material, etc. But this will get into a ton more resources, new things to explore, and I am not going to do a very good job showcasing it all. I'm going to reserve and leave that for Mishaal when we get to bring him in. He's got all the cool stuff that he'll bring to the table. I think it is super duper important, though, to highlight and hype up some of the new friends that, hey, when we get together again for our next and upcoming live stream, I'll be together again with Ellie Daw. Ellie has spent some time with us for her cryptography course, and her and I got a chance to catch up while we were at RSA. She actually swung by the booth, and it was the first time I got to meet her in person. So that was phenomenal and awesome. And I'm so glad she's joining the party with us just as well. But yeah, look at all that stuff. I don't know if you saw it. And again, I got to like back page enough so we can see all this. But we have like those 20 upskill challenges. We have tons of this material out and about for open source intelligence, for Active Directory, for pen testing, red teaming, a little bit of malware analysis, a little bit of dark web, a little bit of CTI, cyber threat intelligence. Like I'm happy. I'm really pleased with just how incredible this has all been coming together in like the 7 months now. We've been doing this just hacking training thing, like a little bit over half a year. But I've always had that approach, and I hope that, hey, we get to shine the spotlight on others, because it's not just me. I don't want it to be just me. I want to be able to, hey, share and escalate and give everything and everyone all the other incredible things that they're up to. shine the spotlight on the other incredible people in the industry. So thank you for letting me do that, and thank you for all the support when we can bring these things all together. But the focus of today is that open source intelligence, OSINT, and that whole wide world of how you can do some investigations and how you can, hey, maybe assist in some different cases that could very well be used for law enforcement. I don't think I'm going too far out on a limb to say that, but the analysis, the investigations, the stuff that could really lead to a job, stuff that could really lead to a career in that whole world. But the expert here is Mishaal. And you all know him. You've seen him before. I know he's a fan favorite with some incredible fireworks demos. So I think after 10 minutes of me rambling, I will let Mishaal in on the show. Mishaal, you ready for me? Can you give me a thumbs up? All good? Cool. I'll bring you in. Whoop. How's it going, Mishaal? Great to see you, my friend.
Great to see you as well. How's everything?
Hey, is audio all good?
Yes. Doing well. Thanks for the introduction again.
I don't know. I never do you justice. I could sing your praises forever, but I know you're doing incredible things. With that, would you actually mind? Because, hey, not everyone may have tuned in for something else, for previous live streams. Can you give your quick background, who you are, what you're up to, and all the things that you're chasing these days?
Yeah, I'm Mishaal Khan. I do a bunch of things in cybersecurity. I've been a pen tester. I do a lot of open source intelligence. With that, a lot of privacy stuff comes in play as well. So I balance the OPSEC with the OSINT, with the nerdy hacking stuff. And I take most of that knowledge that I've gained over the past 20 years or so, and I apply it to companies to protect organizations as a virtual CISO. And I do lots and lots of talks and presentations and trainings all over the world. So yeah, that's kind of the quick and dirty of who I am, what I'm doing right now. There's a lot of moving parts.
Well, I know you are certainly a busy fella. I think we were trying to schedule when we could get together for the live stream, and it's like I'm going to be on travel this past week, this weekend, and a little bit of the weeks following. And I know you are just about to go fly out somewhere else to go do some other sweet show.
This was the only time we could come up with, but hey, we made it happen.
Well, thank you for all of your incredible contributions, all of your incredible support, everything you've been able to do to help, I don't know, foster more of that education and learning with JHT and across the whole community and the industry. I know you are everywhere, my friend. So thank you. Can't say it enough.
Yeah, no, I want to thank you because OSINT is something near and dear to my heart. It's something I've been doing passionately since high school, probably. And I wanted to get something out to the audience. I've been doing this in chunks every now and then in presentations. I have a live training that I do a couple of times a year, but it's only accessible to people in person. And this is something that kind of fills that gap from a beginner level to intermediate all the way to advanced, a video on demand style training, which was honestly lacking in the market. A lot of the other trainings that are out there, they're good. I've tried most of them, but they don't touch on practical knowledge, sort of like the pen testing world, what you do on your YouTube channel and all your other trainings. It's like hands-on. You share your screen and let's do it. That's kind of my style as well with OSINT. I'm like, forget the theory. There's no PowerPoints, nothing to talk about, just more to see, more to do, and results. So that's my style of doing OSINT, the hacker style, I call it, using all the cool tools and stuff, which I'll demo in a second.
Yeah, and if I may say, I think that is one of the big standout features of this next level OSINT, right? This third installment, your kind of capstone course here is, hey, we've got a Kali Linux machine accessible and in the course, available on demand. Hey, you can spin it up. And we've got a VPN now, and alongside the browser-based labs. I was really excited about the VPN, but I know we've been talking about it in all the past live streams. You were building up to, hey, first we want to get the intuition. First we want to get the muscle. We want to get folks having the creative thinking to do and hey, go after, use one thing and try one tool or many others as you're learning. But now you're at the point where like, okay, we could even build our own tools and write some of our own scripts and automate this, right?
Yeah, it's that maturity cycle that I wanted people to go through, because a lot of people ask me, oh, what is OSINT? Is it just Googling stuff? Is it just using a bunch of these 20, 30 tools? People often ask me for my bookmarks list because I've curated some really good bookmarks, categorize them. I'm like, all of that is not useful unless you know the foundational skills of what OSINT is. It's a mixture of tools, techniques, methods, thinking outside the box, and then using the tools to your advantage. If you're struggling in Linux or Kali Linux and some of the tools, you're going to troubleshoot for hours and hours, and the execution time is only a few seconds, and that's where I want you to be at the execution stage. So I have to build those skills up to a level where, yeah, the basics we all understand, then build it up one level, sort of like building a house. You can't build the second floor without the first floor or the basement. So that's what I was trying to do properly. And the first two courses were about that. And now I jump straight into the very, very advanced stuff, which I would say not a lot of people talk about or use. Some of these techniques will be brand new to folks. They'll be like, wow, I never knew OSINT had this type of stuff. And again, another disclaimer I want to always throw out there, it's in the course too, that not all these techniques that I teach and show are legal or ethical. This is not a course on what's right or what's wrong. It's a course on how to get information. And honestly speaking, I did enough research on this. In some areas, even accessing anything on the internet is illegal. You log into a website you're not supposed to. There's laws against that. But if you're in a different country, the laws change, a different region. So there's so many laws and ethics and stuff. Like, I'm not going to touch that. That's for someone else to do. I'm just showing you how to get information, how the bad guys are getting information. They have no restrictions. How the good guys like us, when we do investigations, hunt after those bad guys. What are the tools and services available to us at our fingertips? I want to show you the top end of that.
Can I go on a slight tangent just because I saw it in chat and I kind of got nerd sniped? Sam Bent, a good friend of ours, he's saying like, hey, all this stuff is awesome, but you still got to learn OPSEC. You need to know your own operational security, especially when you're doing all this work. But hey, you're kind of coming in to save the day with that again already. We have your OPSEC course for operational security for security professionals. Do those worlds blend together? Does one come before the other? Are they mutually exclusive? How does that tie together?
Well, in my OPSEC course and also in the beginner level OSINT course I mentioned, if you're doing beginner level OSINT where you're just Googling stuff and trying to do research from a journalist point of view or something, if it's surface level research, your OPSEC doesn't matter as much, dare I say, normal research. But anything sensitive that you're doing, like when you're doing real investigations, looking for missing persons, bad guys, scammers, hackers, yes, stop right there. Do proper OPSEC because we don't want you to fall in certain traps, be caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. Know that anything you do on the internet, you're leaving a trail for something. And the OPSEC course kind of shows you what trail you're leaving. Educate yourself on all the different places that you could get caught with your IP address, with your browser fingerprinting, with your user agents and stuff like that. And then how to protect yourself from it. So I go over the why. Why is this important? Because subpoenas, search warrants, bad guys have the same technology we do, even better. So while you're investigating, doing something good, you could end up being caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, incriminating yourself, or even just being a victim of the bad guy themselves. For me, OPSEC is very, very important because sometimes I go after really bad people, stalkers, predators, extortionists and stuff, and they have no idea that I'm the one who's trying to catch them. And if they do find out, they're sitting in jail, they have all the time to think, all the resources, all the mafia gang members, all the money to find someone better than me to find me. And I don't ever want to be in that position. I have a family to protect. I have myself and stuff. So yeah, so that OPSEC course for security professionals is not just the basic OPSEC stuff. I go from basic all the way to really advanced stuff and I just want to show you the different ways OPSEC can be done, very creative ways. And then you decide based on your threat levels where you want to be. As a pen tester, your OPSEC is going to be different because you have permission. Even if you do get caught, sure, no biggie. You have written authority to do stuff. For researchers, different. For criminal investigators, law enforcement, whatever, very different level of OPSEC. So yeah, take that course. They are not mutually exclusive when you're doing investigations. You have to do OPSEC first understand before you dive into this murky field.
Well, I love seeing it in the chat. Everyone's pretty hyped up for the demo. Hey, let's get to the tech. Let's get on the keyboard. But if I may, before we do, the last thing I want to squeeze in, as we've been kind of teeing all this up, I'll go back to the screen share for just a moment, because while I am ecstatic and excited about the new release for Next Level OSINT, that absolute, culminating third installment here, I do want to add the note, look, that's going to be 20% off. That's something that we do for everything that we release. Every time the first release, when it's first getting out the door, we do the 20% off. So hopefully that eases a bit. And the Mishaal bundle, something that we've been just super happy to have, is the collection of everything that you have generously and graciously put together for us. But that is the beginner course, that is the intermediate course, that is the advanced course, and the OPSEC course that we were just teeing up, privacy and operational security for security professionals and practitioners, including some of your hack-along material. So stuff that's the geo-OSINT, or the geographic open source intelligence, to find a location from a picture or from some other real-world breadcrumb, whether it's a QR code or a store receipt or any of the things that can really paint the picture, how you can track that all down. And I acknowledge that's a price tag. We can't really shy away from that, because, hey, we got to pay the people and everyone that's putting in their hard work to do this. And I hope, look at all the sweet stuff you can get from this. That's the whole cradle to grave. That's from start to finish, beginner, intermediate, advanced, and then a little bit of extra in there with all the other cool opportunities. So I hope that's worthwhile for you. Grab the Mishaal bundle and really celebrate all of Mishaal's awesome stuff.
Those are over 200 videos in there.
200 videos.
Yeah, it took me a while to create those. The short videos, some are 5 minutes, some are 15 minutes, anything in between, and heavily edited. Like a 5-minute video took me an hour or more to edit, with fancy stuff in it, fingers pointing here and there, little tags, emojis, GIFs, whatever, videos. So I wanted to make it value content, not just some raw, video footage. So a lot of work has gone into it, and then the notes underneath it, and then the links, where you can find further information. The course also has certain files that are created by me, bookmark files, scripts, other things. So a lot of work has been put into this. So $300-400 is a steal. I call it theft internally.
Well, let's see. I think you've said you've been doing a lot of live training in person and on site, and for those, even for like conferences, for different workshops or whatever, like those can be like $1,000 for one.
A couple of thousand,
right?
sometimes. Yeah, for one. Yeah.
Whatever. I'm sorry. I try to like morally justify myself for everyone. I had a crazy conversation with another educator or content creator in the space, and we think back to like, hey, free or the affordable and the accessible thing in cybersecurity, because the hacker ethos, right, the whole culture was that free knowledge and stuff that you could kind of get easily and accessible. But when you think back, I don't know if I'm dating in the 90s or the early 2000s, but like that free info was a text file. Like that was a .txt, an article or magazine, and that was kind of it. But I think now we're talking about labs, full-blown virtual machines, cloud hosting provider costs, and quizzes and videos and lessons and notes and resources. So I hope, I cross my fingers. Hey, I hope no one gets too mad at me. We're like, we got to pay the people.
No, it's justified. I think there's overwhelming support from the community, from the InfoSec community, with this type of model. This is an accessible model where anyone who's even slightly serious about the field will jump into this. If you just want some, cursory knowledge, there's plenty of free tools on YouTube, on so many forums and stuff. And once you've decided this is the field I want to take, invest in yourself. A couple of $100 invest in yourself for knowledge that is going to make you tens of thousands of dollars, if not more, almost immediately, because there's practical use cases for this. So be your own judge of where you want your career to go. I'll leave it for mentors to decide that, but everything's available now online in different formats.
All right. I'm sorry for falling down the rabbit hole. I know. Let's get to the real show. Hey, you got any fireworks for us? You got any sweet demos? Any
Let's do
magic
this.
to
Yeah.
bring? All right.
Let me share my screen here 1 second. And all right. Screen shared. All right. You guys see Kali Linux?
I'm going to put the mic down and let you steal the show.
All right. So let me log into Kali Linux. So this course specifically deals a lot with Kali Linux because of some of the tools and stuff in it. So let me take you through a quick scenario of how I would use these tools. So let's say I have a neighbor, Mr. Wilson, and somebody did a hit and run on his car parked outside. And he came up to me. He's like, "Hey, Mishaal, you do investigations and stuff. Can you figure out who hit my car?" And this is my interview questions for him. I'm like, "Did you see the plate?" He's like, "Oh, the plate number started with a run. It was an easy thing to remember, but then there were some digits after that. My memory's not that great, so I don't know." All right. I noted down as a good investigator. And then he said that the license plate had an orange, and then he said, no, it was a peach in the center of the plate. That's what he remembers. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll look that up later. Car was an SUV, and it was black, and it had a logo of a couple of rings on it. That's all I got. And this is a typical scenario of someone who's not very car savvy, doesn't know a lot about vehicles and stuff, but this is a lot of good information I have to start off with. I'm like, all right, let me find this person for you. And by the way, these are very close to real life scenarios. I've been through most of these scenarios in real life where somebody gave me a plate number or a description of a vehicle, and I started doing my research. So in this scenario, I'm going to show you some really advanced tools. One of the tools I would start the search with is, John, you may know this tool. It's called Kaido or Kaido. I don't know how to pronounce it. You actually have a video on this.
Yes, I really like Kaido. I know a lot of folks love Burp Suite and Kaido. They both do similar things. Over at B-Side San Francisco, some of the folks there were the developers, the founders, the folks behind it. So cool project.
Nice.
Great tool.
Yeah, I recently got on this last year away from Burp Suite. And this is one of the things I teach in this advanced course is maximize your tool sets. What if Burp Suite goes down or crashes or it's unable to do something or has limitations? What is the alternative to that? I always talk about alternatives to every single tool I have in my tool set. And if I don't have an alternative, I actually get worried. I'm like, oh, I'm dependent too much on this tool. I need to figure out another way. So for Burp Suite type of stuff that I used to do, this is my alternative, and it's actually pretty good. So let me launch a browser here within Kaido, and I'll go to O'Reilly Autos, and I did this in my previous demo as well, but I'm going to build on what I did in the past. So O'Reilly Autos has an API in the backend, which kind of gives me something about a plate. So let's say, first things first, that plate number. It asked me for a plate number. So let's go on Google and look at license plates with a peach in it, because that's what I had. So it's Georgia. Obviously, this is the only plate that has a peach. There may be others, but let's say it's Georgia. If it was an orange, it would be Florida. So now I have the state. So I'll go into GA, Georgia, right here. And the plate number...
Would you be willing to amp up the text size or zoom in a smidge for... Oh, thank you. Sorry.
Let's zoom in a bit. Yeah, when I zoom in, I kind of get lost because my screen is pretty big.
I'm just so used to 72-point font. That's all.
Yeah. And that's why I'm talking through this in case someone can't see or needs to squint. You can at least hear. So here's what I would do. I would put in, let's say, the plate number. It started with run, but I don't know anything after that. So I'll just do anything here and just search. And it actually found something, a 2004 Honda Odyssey, but that's not my plate number. So I take this output and I go behind. I was forwarding all the traffic, so I just go in my history and I look at all the stuff that's been forwarded. I should have probably cleared this first, but let's look at this. I've done this a few times, so I know which one to look at, but I should have just deleted the whole history and started fresh. But here's the request that went through. It says vehicle, plate number, run 1234, and GA. I need to go through different vehicles here. So I will right click on this, send it to automate. So very similar to Burp Suite. And now I have this request. Now my goal here is to go over hundreds of license plate numbers. So I'm going to do this quickly. I go through this in the course step by step, but I'm going to put a placeholder here, so a variable, and I'm going to go through numbers in this plate. I'll go through from 1 till all the numbers, 9999. That's a lot of iterations to go through. And as it goes through this, I'll just go through settings and delay. So here's the big advantage between Kaido and Burp Suite is it doesn't throttle my requests. I can go through thousands of requests and I'm not going to be throttled down. In Burp Suite, the paid version has the freedom to not be throttled, but the free version throttles at 1 per second. So that's one big advantage I see here. So let's do this with 10 workers. Let's just keep it to 10 and just click on run. And it's actually now going through all these requests. You see 11 requests have gone through. And if I had not throttled it to just 10 per second or whatever, this would go really, really fast. But the website would have throttled me then. It would, because this is an API request that's going in the backend. So as it's going through these requests, I'm getting responses. And now we're getting a little bit technical here, but I look at the response and I see, all right, nothing found in this response. What about the next one? Nothing found there either. So I go through each one until I find a hit. And this is going pretty slow. Let's pause, resume. Let's go through. Hold on. So I went through a few others in the past here. Let's go through history. All right, I only have this. So we'll wait for this, or I could just hit cancel and actually go back, go under settings and increase this to 100 and then run it again. Oh, you see all these responses go. 200 requests have already gone through in a matter of a second. And now I'm being kind of throttled back just a little bit from the website. But as I go through this, access denied in some of them, the API is likely blocking me in some of these requests. But this is the way I would go through to get a hit on certain license plate numbers here. By the way, I'm open to any questions to pause and stuff if somebody has any in between.
There were a couple that I saw fly by. I know that one didn't include like the zero padding, so like 0001 for
Right.
full 4 digits. It just started with 1. Is that an option? Okay.
So I tried it in the past, and sometimes it
Kinda
works.
doesn't play nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes it just ignores it. I think in this case, it ignores it. So if I look through the IDs of the payload, so you see payload was just 1. Gotcha. And that's not what I want. So yeah, there are some limitations here with the number padding. Burp Suite does a better job at options here. It's more advanced. This is a little bit more simpler, but this is exactly what I need. And you can have different projects here as well. So I did this in, you can kind of go through multiple workflows and projects and environments, and there's a lot you can do. And I've actually linked your videos in some of these to get more information. But as I go through this again, let me go through, where was it? Automate. Let me go through the other one. This is going a little slow. All right, it didn't keep the history. So this is basically what I want. So once I have a hit, and let's see if I did get any hits on here, I can search through the query tool here. So I can search through the responses and go through entire content, and then if it contains a value. So if it contains a value like year of the car, one of them did. And let me go down, and it gave me a plate number, let's see, year 2015, model Rogue, and a few other things, Nissan Rogue. And if I look at the request, it shows me a Georgia plate with the payload was 98, so run 98 was that plate, and it was a Nissan Rogue. So I can go through all Georgia plates like this that start with that, and eventually I'll get a hit with that particular vehicle, which was an SUV with 3 rings on it or whatever, or 4 rings on it, which is an Audi. So I'm basically looking for an Audi SUV. And the more times you do this, you'll see different results. I think I'm being throttled here by the website because I've done it so many times and I'm running through so many requests. But let me run through this one that had 200 requests already. And if I search through, oops, the control Z's are different here on a Mac. Let's do that again. I accidentally pressed Command Z. So let's do this again. Response, raw output contains a value called year. And I still get that one. So once I find a hit, what I can do is I can take this technique of finding license plate numbers. And by the way, I can do this with many other sites. Carvana allows me to do the same thing, go through thousands of entries. Once I do that, I can actually go through my breaches. And this is the other thing I teach, that don't rely on online breach records. Those can be gone once the website is taken down. I download my own breaches. So here's my hard drive with certain breaches in them. And what I do is I will go through the Park Mobile data breach because I know that data breach has plate numbers in it. So I do rip grep, which is just a faster way, much faster way of doing grep. And I put the name run, go through this entire CSV file, which is like 5 gigs, press enter. And wow, that was fast. It found a lot of entries that start with run. So I need to kind of make sure it starts with run. So a backslash, which is an escape character with this, will show me entries that just start with the word run. So you can see all the plate numbers that show up here, run 3990, run whatever. So I need a plate number that starts with run and has an Audi next to it, because these plates also show you the car model. Some of them do. So let's say that first query in Kaido runs through and I actually see the vehicle there, which I should have. I tried this in a demo yesterday, and it actually showed me a bunch of vehicles. And the vehicle it showed me, the plate number specifically started with 132. So I looked through all the plate numbers with 132. Let's go through this. And 1327, I got just one hit, which was actually an Audi with that plate number. And I can now look through this vehicle, 1327, on an actual browser. So I can just go to, let me go to a browser window and go to, what's that other one? Kelly Blue Book? Yeah, Kelly Blue Book. And I can exploit one of their APIs here as well. So Kelly Blue Book allows me to enter a plate number. So it was run 1327, was it? State was Georgia. Hit go. And it shows me an Audi Q7, but it also shows me a VIN number. So now I can copy that VIN number and then go to Google and just Google that VIN number and find out more info. So now I see a 2019 Audi, which is the one I saw before, and I can kind of see the color of the car. Sometimes it'll show me this car was for sale for a certain amount, but now I can kind of verify with Mr. Wilson and say, hey, was it this vehicle? Oh no, he said it was black. All right, so it may be a different plate number or whatever. I can start narrowing it down. This was kind of a example which has a few assumptions in place with it, obviously for the sake of a good example. But a lot of things can fail in this. I can not find the vehicle. Maybe it's they didn't have it in their API. Not all vehicles will be in that data breach as well. So there's a lot of ifs and buts in this, and a lot of conditions need to be met for this investigation to go through. But the point here is you have options. Have you tried going through data breaches? Have you tried the VIN numbers of a vehicle? What about Kelly Blue Book, which turns a plate number to a VIN number, and then from a VIN you can kind of search further. The point here is you need to try everything at your disposal for you to be satisfied in saying, I did everything I could. Otherwise, you're like, yeah, I just Googled stuff and I really didn't try everything. So this is part of due diligence. And this is when I tell people that, I will try everything in my resource list and my ability to get to the bottom of this. And this is what I mean by it. So it doesn't take me 2-3 minutes to go over something like this. When I go through my bookmarks and I'm like, all right, let's go under car in my bookmark. So I have a section of cars, and I'm going to go through all these things. Plate searches, there's a Carvana, there's Search Query, there's O'Reilly Autos, there's Geico, State Farm. You can do a lot with vehicles. And once I have that narrowed down search criteria, I hone in my skills, and I call it being a sharpshooter at this. So you need to hone your skills into one specific area of OSINT, whether it's maps or GeoInt or websites or data breaches. Each one of these requires hours and hours of training, so that you can get better and better at it. And eventually you find results. I personally have found many good results when people give me a plate number. I'm like, you don't need to go to the cops. Let me try my data breaches and let me try these few resources that I have. And immediately I find results, and I'm like, here you go. Go to the cops now and give them this new information. You're going to save a lot of their time. Instead of them coming back to you in a matter of days, in a matter of hours, you'll get results. So that's kind of one of the techniques using these advanced tools in Kali Linux.
There are a lot of good questions coming through in chat of like, hey, the breach data is a really cool opportunity, but how do you either get that or get a hold of it? Or do you ever, are you usually in the case where you can use that? Or are there cases where you can't use breach data?
Yeah, that's a good question. Some people can, some people can't. Law enforcement can't because it's considered stolen data. So they can use it, but they can't present it in court. They'll be like, well, what's the source of this data? Some hacker? Do you believe that source? Sometimes it's not an authentic source. I mean, all of the times it's not. They're criminals providing this data. So you can't use it in an actual investigation when you need to prove a certain trail. The way I use it is as a hint. I'm like, all right, I know this exists. I know there's a plate number like this with a person's whose Gmail address is here, and maybe their phone number is also in one of these things. All right, let me go to the source of this, and let's go to the Gmail address, find their, Google, what do you call profile from this, and then from the Google profile, let me find their street view or maps, and then home location. And then if I see that same car parked outside on Google Street View, cool, I've kind of confirmed this. And that's the information I take to law enforcement, not that I found it through a breach. So some of these techniques, if they're illegal for one agency to use, I would still use them as a source of knowledge, but not as a source of proof, because it will be thrown out of court. And it really depends, again, who you are. If it's research purposes, or if you're trying to uncover something, great. Stealer logs is another way to do something like that. You see login information, cookies, and stuff like that. Great for the bad guys, not too useful for the good guys. What am I going to do with cookies? That's illegal to log in and stuff. So I pick and choose the information I want. Like in this case, there's a lot of passwords, but they're hashed. This is probably in a bcrypt hash. There's nothing I can do with this, and I don't care about passwords. I care about all the supplementary information that comes from a data breach. So yeah, like I said, I have all these sources of information and knowledge, but with that has to go the ethics piece, the legal piece, which again, I'm not here to discuss.
Yeah, there is a lot of good questions in chat that are asking the quiet part out loud. They're like, okay, but where, how can I get my hands on those those breach data? I don't know if you want to wade in the waters of, I know, that gray area. I can politely blanket that, oh, we do have a dark web course over
That's
at
exactly what I was
Training.
going to say. There's other courses that focus on this. The dark web course focuses on breach data, how to get it. In my previous courses, I've also teed this up. In the beginner level course, I use, what have I been pwned, and breachdirectory.org.com and stuff like that. Surface level stuff. Then go deeper and deeper into certain other breach records. This is, at the end of the day, if you really want to be professional about it and have your own data, be responsible with your own infrastructure, use this. But again, with this comes responsibility. I store them encrypted. I don't share them. There's a lot of sensitive information in these. In the courses, I actually redact most of my breaches that I show, because it shows social security numbers from the AT&T data breach. So I can't really show that. Those videos will be taken down. But I need to show that this stuff exists and it can be used in legit investigations. Again, we're the good guys. We're ethical hackers. We're ethical investigators. So there's a lot of sensitive stuff that will be shown to you. Some of it may be borderline illegal and stuff, but use it for good. That's my message here.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Obviously, the dark web course that we have out and about, we actually have the sequel to that, the Dark Web 2, kind of in the cooker, and that'll be on its way. That'll be much, much more tactical. But as with all things, you kind of have to have your understanding and moral compass and ethics with that. I think it's especially squeamish when we think about, okay, hoarding or having our own breach data for us to use. But I think, and I parallel this really well, I think, with a lot of like penetration testers or red teamers, like your oftentimes goal is to be adversary emulation. And adversaries aren't really playing by the rules. They're going to have their own breach dumps. They're going to have their own breach data. So I think, look, understanding, look, this is where the line is. You know that you have your moral compass, but like you can use those tools. And it is adversary emulation when it needs to be.
Right. And I don't want to focus on those things that may be questionable and borderline, unethical or illegal, because that's one part of OSINT. My goal is put everything together. So a good example of this is I share this mind map with everyone in the course, and I say, go through this. One part of that mind map is data breaches down here, but if you're unable to search through those, that's fine. You're still doing 95% of your investigation minus the data breaches. And again, every investigator will be different. There's a section on government here, like look through cases, look through traffic violations, voting records, government records. That's part of OSINT. But if you're unable to, let's say you're in a part of the world, Europe or Middle East or Asia, where these records are very hard to get, they're not public record, well, you're going to end up skipping this whole section, which is fine. Say it was inaccessible from an OSINT perspective, and only law enforcement can access this. In the US, we can access most of government records as a normal citizen. And if we see something interesting, then we can dig deeper and involve law enforcement with subpoenas and FOIA requests even we can do. But there's a lot you can do in a mind map, and this mind map keeps me sane. And one of the modules in this course, I actually go through a real investigation. I pick on America's Most Wanted list. I pick on one person, and I actually go through my methodology on how I would find this most wanted person. And I go through this structure. I say, all right, did I look through their websites, their domains, their images, their bio? What emails did I find? From there, can I pivot off to something else, maybe usernames and blah, blah, blah. So this is the whole scenario I run through in a real life demo. And then one new thing I've kind of added to my mind maps is the timeline feature. I show you how to set up a timeline of events, and how I go through a timeline. This is like a sample timeline, because a lot of the times things happen over a course of 1 or 2 years, and you kind of lose where you were in the process. So I teach people how to create timelines with it, of investigations, when things happened, put it into perspective. So that's another added value to a mind map style of investigation. And for the sake of time, I'll run through 2 more quick scenarios of what I do in this course. One other thing that I kind of go through is a lot of Kali Linux-based tools. These tools are only available on a Linux platform. Things like this tool called Olihi. It will, if I enter this bob123@gmail.com and click enter, this tool Olihi will go through a bunch of websites and see if that Gmail address was used to sign up for these websites. Now, the manual way to do this is take that email, sign up for a Twitter account, and it'll say, oh, email already used. That's a very laborious process. This did it in a matter of seconds. And now you can see Bob123 has an Adobe account, a bodybuilding.com account, according to this tool. He also has some questionable accounts down here. So this can go against the person as well and say, hey, why are you using your personal account for questionable things? A lot of the times I've done investigations on political candidates, and when I see stuff like that, this is dirt for the other party to be like, hey, you have some shady accounts on some questionable websites. So a lot of this information can be used, can be misused. So take it from both angles. Do your own OPSEC. In the OPSEC course, I also mentioned, don't use your email addresses for signing up for anything. Like just use duck addresses or simple login addresses for everything. Keep them unique. And this is one use case on why. But I kind of go through a lot of these Linux-based tools in this, and I couldn't in the previous courses because it was too much to handle. Now that I've built everyone to that certain level of technical skill set, I go through plenty of Linux-based tools to extract information that otherwise would have been too difficult to get to. That and one other thing that kind of really was exclusive to this course was APIs. I've been doing a lot of API-based web testing, and when I do API pen testing, I discovered you can get a lot of data from APIs for OSINT purposes. So what I did was I compiled a list of all the APIs that helped me get more information. So stuff like, let's say Hulu. Does the person have a Hulu account? Well, you can actually go up to this certain link which says signup.hulu.com and a long link and put in a person's email address. Click send, and it'll just give you an output, a JSON output saying status existing. Cool, I know it exists. With one click of a button, I could do that. But there are certain other APIs that are not that simple. It's not just a simple GET request. They require a lot of headers in between. So here's an example of a UK vehicle license plate lookup where it requires certain headers, and you can't do this on a web browser because the web browser, it's hard to modify headers and stuff. You can technically through the inspect tool, but it's very difficult to do. So I've migrated people onto, say, postman.com, go on the website rather than the actual application. It's much easier here because I can share it, I can manipulate data here, I manipulate headers, I can put stuff in the body of the request and click send, and this is an API request going, and it comes back with a result. And the power of tools like this is I can change environments. Like right now it says forbidden because I didn't put my API key here. If I look at headers, most of these things require an API key. So here's the API key value, and I don't have an API key in here right now. But if I change my environment here to demo environment, now there is an API key there. If I hover over it, you'll see it. So I won't hover over it. It's my own API key, but it's for free. Now if I send the request, boom, I got a reply for the request. So that plate number is tied to a Ford in the UK. So this is way more complicated than just a web request. This is a post request with headers, with bodies, with API keys that you have to obtain. But all of these are free API keys. And I go through some of these on how to create stuff like this. There's so much more advanced stuff you can do. And the last thing I'll mention here is you can even go as advanced as create flows. I've created a Proton mail flow where most of people know this technique, and I've mentioned this in my second course as well, that there's a API for Proton mail where you can see the date that the Proton mail account was created, or at least the date of the certificate. But then you get that date in the format of numbers. It's not an actual date. So if I run this whole what do you call flow, it takes that API, spits out that output, which was let's look at the output, which was this number. Then you had to take this number and go to this epoch converter, and let me scroll down, put that number in here, and that number would give you, oh, it's Friday, May 2nd, whatever. And that's what we were after. But you can automate this process and say, take the output from this API, whatever response you get, take the response, convert it to date time, and then boom, you get a date time. 2024 is when this email address certificate was issued, technically. So you can automate a lot of these processes. That's the goal of showing you tools like this, because when you're in a rush scenario and you have to go through all these things, I have one email address, but I need to go through 10 APIs. Yeah, you can just set a variable like I have in most of these cases as an email variable. You press send, and all of these will give you results. So it's a very powerful method. And a lot of these advanced tools that you pay for are actually doing this in the backend. So I'm getting to the source of this. I don't want to pay thousands of dollars for a tool or even 10, 20 bucks subscription models when I can recreate the entire process with a little bit of technical knowledge. So that's kind of what I open up people's minds to. I'm like, here's where the source of the data is. Here's how you get it. Now do what you want with it.
Sorry. I had to grab my microphone.
Oh, that's good. And yeah, to to kind of bring it all back together, there's a lot of other resources. Like what's different about this course is there's stuff, and let me just stop sharing my screen because I'll take some Q&A. There's stuff in this that is probably not seen in any other OSINT course. There are things like offline tools I mentioned. Like OSINT is not just about online stuff. There's a whole section of me going through things that are technically considered offline OSINT. Things like, AP, IVR manipulation, calling up a certain AT&T or Verizon or your internet provider and giving them a phone number of your target, and outcomes, the address of that person. Is this the address you were calling about? Cool. It's all IVR. It's all robotic stuff. You're not talking to a human, but you're manipulating some IVR stuff. There's things you can only access from a library, from some voter registry record from an actual government office. That stuff is not online. Some obituary records are not online. There's radio. I even go into like tuning into certain SDRs and radios and finding information through law enforcement radio or emergency radio stuff. Useful in some scenarios. So there are a lot of those one-off scenarios, but I do mention them and saying, this is how you kind of complete the picture of online OSINT, some offline techniques, some breach records, some APIs, some mobile versions, things that are only available on a mobile phone. I actually go through the Android emulation process in a couple of those videos and show you that the mobile version of a site is not sufficient. Sometimes you need to be on an actual Android device to extract information from an app. And here's how you get on an Android device without having 5 burner phones with you. And you can create virtual environments, and a lot of the things will work in an Android environment. So I show you the best techniques that I have for that. So there's quite a few of these things spread across the course. So I'm really excited about this stuff because these are techniques not talked about, and they have immense power in getting that one tiny piece of information that could make or break your case.
Yeah, this is the one I know we were all most looking forward to. Because without a doubt, the fun stuff, at the beginning, they're the fundamentals, they're the things that kind of lay the foundation, but it's so cool to see the wizardry when you get to the advanced stuff and just tying it all together. So thank you all for doing it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
If I may, I think, hey, we could probably wrap it up and get to the end just a smidge, but I think it would be worth gentle reminder for folks that are really interested in this, all the resources, everything that you were able to go see, drill down into, and whether it's the mind map, whether it's, hey, the opportunity to get another job or career. And I'd love to actually ask you, if I may, how do you turn OSINT into a thing that makes you money? Is it, hey, just kind of you as a sole individual going on in cases and investigations? Are you working with folks? How does that happen?
I tend to answer this question in every OSINT talk and demonstration that I do. Someone always has a question like, yeah, how do you make a career out of it? Very legitimate question, because a lot of people who take my course, the in-person course, they come in as, hey, this is something interesting. I just want to know what it is. It may not be career worthy, but they end up saying, no, this is absolutely affecting my career. So there's a lot of careers this affects. If you're in pen testing, I would say 50% of a social engineering attack is OSINT. If you're not doing your OSINT work, your attack, which is going to be a phishing email or a phone call or any sort of social engineering, is not going to be as strong unless you have that personal touch, that information about your company, your individual, your target, or whatever. So in most pen testing fields, OSINT is amazing. And that's why I became a good pen tester, because my OSINT skills were better than my pen testing skills. I'm not a great pen tester. I'm not a great technical person, but I was really good at digging for information, and I used to use that information against my target in a paid pen testing gig. So it made me a better pen tester. So that field, it makes you a better journalist. If that's your field, investigating stories and journalism in general, it makes you an amazing journalist. It makes you a great investigator, whether law enforcement, whether on the private sector. I get hired for small investigations. I get paid anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 for an investigation that lasts me a week, 10 days, a month. Sometimes those investigations are much longer, than I get paid more for those. So if you're good at those things, there are people out there who need help in all of these fields. You just need to find the right avenues for this kind of stuff. And I say the more skill sets you have, the better skill sets you have in finding information in OSINT, you highlight some of your other skills in your job. So if you're a journalist and now you suddenly know OSINT, you're a better journalist. Now you can get paid even better because you shine from the rest. So there's quite a few areas that it affects as a secondary skill, but also as a primary skill. I do it for privacy management. I tell people, hey, let me manage your privacy, not OSINT specifically, but I use OSINT to manage their privacy. I'm like, you're a high net worth client, and this is kind of what I do primarily now for my job. And I'm like, in order to protect you, let me dig up all the information I can about you that a hacker eventually will. Now I know what I need to protect. Now let's take this big list of things and try to hide this information or get rid of it so no one else can find it or abuse it. So you got to be creative in how you make a career out of it. But believe me, there's hundreds of ways to monetize the skill.
Excellent. Well, hey, one last time, I think it would be awesome to be able to bring this thing home. Everything that you got to see, if you are interested, hey, the links, everything we'll try to throw in chat. Look, top of funnel here is justhacking.com. That's where you can see not just the open source intelligence, but the dark web, Active Directory, cryptography, forensics, more OPSEC, malware analysis, so much here. But while the star of the show was OSINT, that's the 20% off for the moment, and the Mishaal bundle that has everything cradle to grave, start to finish. I did see a couple questions asking, "Hey, can you give me a roadmap? Can you show me one of the next?" I gotta be honest. I think this is it. This is the one. This is the flagship thing to go beginner, intermediate, and advanced, and a lot of other geo OSINT things all in the mix there. Free preview should let you take a quick look, and you can see the outline to see all the other sweet stuff that you'll dig into. Of course, Burp Suite, Kaido, etc., Proton, Target Practice. There's so much great stuff here. So thank you again and again.
So yeah, if there's enough interest, we can do this live as well. We've talked about
that was going to be my next question.
Yeah, we've talked about it internally, and we can absolutely do this live. And there are pros and cons to both approaches. Whether in the live session you get more Q&A, you get more time with me, you get live examples, we get to solve things together, and that part, it's hard to replicate on a video on demand type of thing. But on the video side, it's self-paced. If you don't understand the concept, you can replay the video 10 times at your own convenience and stuff. And in the video training, I actually go through troubleshooting. One thing I've kind of changed a little bit in this last course is I left in all my mistakes. Every time I was struggling with a Linux command or something, I'm like, oh, I need to put in sudo here. I found it after a couple of wrong attempts, but I kept those things in place because that's real life scenarios. Troubleshooting is all part of that. So that's something you get out of this as well. So there's pros and cons to both sides, and I say take both. But yeah, that's something we're willing to entertain, and there's going to be plenty of opportunities. So yeah, get in touch with us. I'm around for Q&A later on as well, offline. But yeah, I'm pretty accessible. If anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out.
Please say the word in the chat if folks would love some more of that live training, not just the all online on demand stuff. I think getting together would be awesome. Do something in person, live and on site. So thank you, Mishaal. And I can't say it enough. I know I sound like a broken record every time, but genuinely from the bottom of my heart, I'm just so grateful for your support, contributions, and making this thing incredible, amazing. I hope we can do this again soon.
Absolutely.
All right, everyone, let's tune out. We can go enjoy the weekend and, hey, get to just hacking.